Thursday night football, Eagles, Vikings. We got a Tua Tagovailoa promo going on Underdog. Football is officially underway, and we are here to dive into the Week 2 slate of the Pick 'em board. This is the Player Profiler Pick 'em Power Hour. Welcome back to the Player Profiler Pick 'em Power Hour. We are your hosts, Ahaan Rungta and Trevor Tipton. Not the best Sunday for us, as we both bricked on our own entries on Sunday, but Thursday Night Football were perfect so far through Week 1, and that's what we're going to start with this week. Trevor, how are we doing?
Doing well. 2-1. I wish it would have gone the other way. Tannehill just didn't throw the ball to Burks. Like, he just didn't throw the ball to him. I can't believe the targets Westbrook got. Meanwhile, Burks was open all day. Obviously, he gave some love to D-Hop. But, man, Burks is so talented. And it's like me watching Zach Gallen in Arizona. All this talent, it's just not getting used correctly.
Yep, and for my play, I had Jordan Love higher on rushing yards. I had 12.5. He had 12.
Well, you're hooked.
Chase Claypool, I might be done with Chase Claypool just for a little bit. He had a screen pass and dropped it. Just about summarized that Bears offense in totality. So anyway, it's a new week, though. We got new winners to find. We got Cantrell in the chat. What's up? And we got our very own Matt Babbage in the chat. Also, we've got some Week 2 winners to find, and we've got some motion in this Vikings-Eagles Thursday night football game because we've got some news coming in recently. Kenneth Gainwell is out, and James Bradbury, the cornerback, is out. So maybe an interesting Eagles-Vikings game on the slate here. The spread goes a little bit closer. It's now at 6 to 6.5 points plays. So maybe we can get some good football without injuries during the game this time. Maybe we can get a good primetime game. But regardless, Trevor, how are we reading this? Do we think the Eagles trounced them still?
Interesting on what they do. I mean, Gainwell, while he was an easy pick for us betting last, we had him as our betting picks. His line was 16.5. They said they were going to use him. He could have fallen over and gotten 17 yards in that game. However, he's not efficient. I mean, I can't figure out for the life of me who DeAndre Swift has offended for these teams to not use his talent. I think that it's going to force their hand this week. I imagine they activate Penny. Who knows, right? They end up doing the Eagles. They probably get Boston Scott the ball 37 times just because it's the Eagles. That being said, if I'm the Vikings, while we're loving to throw, we got JJ, we got all these targets. What do I want to do? I want to keep the ball out of Philadelphia's hands. I want to eat some clock. I want nice, long, sustained drives. I don't want to be in a shootout with the Eagles. Like, if when it comes down to it, I just don't want to be in a shootout with them. Now, are the Vikings still going to throw the ball? Yes. But I believe one of the keys for them to win, and I think it leans more towards the first half, I think they're going to get Mattison really involved. And that's my pick for this game Thursday night is Alexander Mattison over 12.5 rushing attempts. I believe he's going to be used. The last time when Cook was out and they played the Eagles, Mattison had 16 rushing attempts. It's a lot of people are fading this because they're looking at his history going, well, he's never had that. And I'm like, well, yeah, he wasn't the bell cow back. Like, he had this guy named Dalvin Cook who's really, really good in front of him. So from a value standpoint, I really, really like the availability there of that game. And right, like I try to think of it like this from a real DFS standpoint. Like, how do I counter, right? Like, what's the contrarian play to getting there? And for me, it's they control the ball, they're very calculated, and they get people involved. So it's one of those. I hope that's what they do. I feel like that's what they do. But I also don't trust the Vikings. But from a value standpoint, I really like this. This is already up to like minus 125 at some books. So it's climbing. You know, it was as low as like minus 102 at FanDuel. So I want to see that go up. So I like seeing that value because as soon as it hits 140 ish, it's going to get hooked up. So I like being able to get it early today and get it at 12.5.
Yeah, and I absolutely love the approach to attacking Alexander Mattison here because not, I'm not gonna say too much about Alexander Mattison's game because Alexander Madison's father may not be looking at my tweets as he normally does, but I do agree with the volume here. I don't want to trust his efficiency in this matchup at all. Like in general, I don't trust Alexander Madison's efficiency as the lead back, but I like that he only got 11 rushing attempts last game, and you see this juiced to the over for good reason in this matchup. So I love that approach. And speaking of the juice, if you want to look at ways to attack the market on the sports books, we have another show just for you run by Memphis Young called The Juice that runs every Friday night. And you got to check that out as well. Add it to your programming schedule for Player Profiler. But sticking with this game, we're going to collab on another entry. We're going to keep this theme of taking one pick from each of us that we love. And, we discussed these beforehand that we like both of these plays that we put. But I'm going to go on the Eagles side here because we do need one pick from each team. And I found one that I absolutely love. It's been moving all day on books. It's been moving all day on Underdog, which is why I haven't finalized until now which way I'm going to attack this. But I'm good now on taking Dallas Goedert higher than 46.5 receiving yards. And I was going to take this as long as it didn't get to 49.5. So you see this prop is already on the books at around 48.5 in a lot of places. And Dallas Goedert, last week, what did he do? 0 catches on 1 target against that Patriots defense, which Patriots defense is nothing to be slept on. But he did not get volume. They really did not look at him at all. And I like that because last year, if y'all remember, Devontae Smith, everybody was crying about me touting Devontae Smith last year. Week 1, 0 catches on 4 targets, and he follows that up in week 2 with 7 targets, 7 catches, 80 yards. So the Eagles have done this, they did this all of last season where someone has a lower volume game and they go right back to him and have a high volume game the next game. To add to this, the Vikings defense outside of cornerback Byron Murphy does not impress me. Is Byron Murphy going to be shadowing Dallas Goedert? No. So Dallas Goedert, I'm all in on his volume in this game, but also his efficiency because I don't think the Vikings will be able to do anything to stop him, especially with him not being the priority. The Vikings, number 1 in blitz rate in week 1, so Jalen Hurts probably going to be looking for those short passes as well. But Goedert also capable yards after catch as well. And he cleared this. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me interrupt. Did you see they just brought his reception prop back up?
Yeah, so I'm looking at the board right now. So in the morning it was 4, now it's 4.5, and we've only seen 1 yard of an increase on the receiving yards. So before this gets around 50, that's why we're streaming now. Yeah. It's Wednesday. So before this gets to 50, I'm taking Dallas Goedert higher than 46.5 yards, a line which he cleared in 10 out of 13 games with Jalen Hurts at quarterback last year already, and now we get a good matchup. So I like this as long as the Eagles don't go up by 30 in the first quarter and they just stop throwing completely, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah, that was what you have to remember last year is one of the things with the Eagles is they were up by so much in the first half every game. They were shutting it down a lot in the second half. They have a way tougher schedule this year. It's going to be, they're going to have to play a lot more 4-quarter games. And while they're really good, it's there. I like Goedert here. I actually have a league, my non-NFFC and non-FFPC leagues. I do a few tournaments on ESPN with some buddies. I have a league that Dallas Goedert was dropped in last night. I threw my fab at it because it's gonna I got 2 days to wait, and I am just like I keep itching it up a little bit at a time because I'm like, okay, right? Like, you just gave me Goedert. Like, I'm gonna go full. For those who know him, Dave Hubbard is one of the most successful high stakes player there is. I'm just throwing the bank at it. So I'm a Dallas Goedert fan. I like the upside this week with that opportunity there for him to really get going.
Absolutely, and if I may say so myself, that is a disgusting act by whoever dropped Goedert, and it's unfortunate. We talked about that on our air live. As people who are joining us on stream, now if you're listening on podcast, we always recite the play so that you can listen along and tail as quickly as possible. But if you are on stream joining with us, we are locking it in right now for a half a unit. Dallas Goedert higher than 46.5 receiving yards, and Alexander Mattison higher than 12.5 rushing attempts. You can only do this as standard play to double your entry amount and submit. The button has been clicked. Go get it now before these lines possibly move very quickly.
And that's, I want to piggyback on what Ahaan talked about with Mattison real quick again. Remember, the NFL was stupid enough to let Howie Roseman get Carter in the first round without the first or second pick in the draft. And we saw what he did last week. So it's another reason, right? We want to go at just volume versus him, right? I can see him having 14, 15 carries and having 40 yards. Like, that's very possible in this game. So I like that. That's one of the main reasons I like that upside there.
Absolutely. I love that spot. Now, we do have some motion going on, not just in these games, but with how we are going to produce content for Underdog. And for those of you who are tailing our picks, as you can see already within the first week, these lines move all week long. It's the NFL. It's a moving league. It's a fast-paced league. We got news of these Eagles injuries and Vikings injuries this morning, and already you can see the Goedert line. If you would try to get receptions, it's already 4.5. So one of the things we are bringing back this year, starting in week 2, is the Underdog pick generator. And the Underdog pick generator is basically something we will put up every Wednesday, which is a list of early leans from both me and Trevor that we have. And this is part of the DFS Dominator package on Player Profiler. So if you want to find these, you go playerprofiler.com. You need the DFS Dominator package. And then on the top of the screen, you will see a little red bar, and it'll say Underdog Pick Generator. You want to click on that every Wednesday, usually right before we go live on air on Wednesdays at 4:30. We will have about 10 or so, plus or minus a few leans that we like, most of which will be for the Sunday board. And we're kind of track not just our record on these early picks, but also let's see how these lines move and if we're getting ahead of these. And over the course of the season, you're going to see us not necessarily victory lap, but make sure that we're on the right side of these line moves. Because last year, just an example, I personally got a Devin Singletary. I think it was higher than 49.5 rushing yards, somewhere around that range. On Saturday morning, that closed at 61.5, and that was one of the most ridiculous ones. Not all of them will be as extreme, but you're always looking for value anywhere you can get it. You don't want to get hooked by those 2 yards. We've all felt that pain, so that's why we're bringing back the Underdog Pick Generator. And with that, before we get into the second half of our programming today, a word from our sponsor.
Let's take a moment to talk about Underdog Fantasy. Now, many of you have already signed up. Thousands have signed up from Player Profiler already over the years. Underdog has supported us since 2020. Much of what you see on Player Profiler is because of Underdog, because of their support. Get the Underdog app, plug in that promo code Underworld. I used to play Underdog just for the best ball drafts. I mean, the best ball drafts are amazing. These draft rooms fill so quickly, and you can win life-changing money. You want to take advantage of all the sleepers we talk about on this show? Well, what better place than in an Underdog draft room to do that? And I recommend taking your Underdog play to the next level by diving into their NFL pick'ems. It's important to correlate those NFL pick'ems. You can pick both the quarterbacks and the wide receivers to exceed expectations. Correlate them, and you can 5x your payout. Bada bing, bada boom. Underdog Fantasy, the promo code is Underworld. For an instant deposit match up to $100, Underdog is the truest friend of the Underworld.
Welcome back to the Player Profiler Pick Em Power Hour. We are here with Trevor Tipton and myself, Ahaan Rungta. We just went over the Thursday Night Football board, and we locked in Dallas Goedert higher than 46.5 receiving yards and Alexander Mattison higher than 12.5 rushing attempts. But we've got more football to talk about, and the majority of it is on Sunday. But like we just mentioned, we want to get ahead of these a little bit. Trevor, let's talk a little bit about this slate from a bird's eye view first. What are some games you're either looking forward to or want to target specifically for player pick-ems as they come out throughout the week?
First one for me is Cincy Baltimore. We talked about Devonta Smith earlier, and now we're going to talk about T. Higgins. T. Higgins had 140 air yards, 8 targets with no catches and no points. It's literally impossible for T. Higgins to do that again. Like, it's just impossible. This is a division matchup. It's going to be, people are going to fade it. They're going to think, Baltimore's defense. This is a great buy low spot for DFS plays on the Cincy side. I think their lines are, as we look here, I was pulling that game up. Just the few we have out right now. T. Higgins is 59.5 yards. Jamar is only 76. And both of those guys can go for 120 to 150 in a game. We've seen them do it. This is probably going to be a great spot to take advantage. The next one I'm looking forward to is the Niners at the Rams. I think people are going to be a little higher on the Rams after how they played the Seahawks. They're going to get reminded at how good the Niners are. It's going to be a real Shanahan's going to expose 8 undrafted rookie or 6th, 7th round picks on that defense, unlike Seattle did. And then I'm excited for another buy low spot with the Giants, right? Everybody's off the Giants. They got, smacked in the mouth by the Cowboys. They look terrible. They get the Cardinals. The Cardinals arguably are tanking for Caleb. Like, nobody's saying it, like admitting it, but I mean, sun's yellow, sky's blue, grass is green, right? The Cardinals are taken. So, and while they were in that game with Washington, I don't believe they'll be in this game with the Giants. This is Wink's going to come at them. This is, historically, Wink has crushed these type of offenses. Where Wink struggled is against elite offenses. So I think he's going to have some schemes up, and I think this is going to be another great buy low point this week.
Yeah, and to go along with this 49ers Rams experience, let's call it, that we're about to have, I guess I could use it as leverage to rant about my article series, each week that I'm writing for Player Profiler. And I may or may not have taken the Seahawks in week 1, and the Rams just said, we are Sean McVay, Aaron Donald, and Matthew Stafford, and you will apologize to us. So I'm sorry, Rams, okay? And I'm sorry for believing that Pete Carroll was capable enough of beating Sean McVay. But speaking of Pete Carroll, a game, we've seen some injury news just recently about this game, but a game that I'm looking forward to either way, just because it's 2 teams where I kind of need to see more, especially after week 1. I kind of need to see more of them, is Seahawks and Lions. So the Seahawks, they have obviously the offensive weapons with Geno Smith. They gave Geno Smith the contract. They have DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith-Njigba. But the Lions beat the Chiefs in week 1. The Chiefs were a little shorthanded. But regardless, these are 2 offenses that are very interesting to me. And the Seahawks are underdogs by almost a full touchdown here. But I wouldn't be surprised if this is just a good old-fashioned shootout, kind of like we saw Seahawks Saints indoors last year. So if we're looking at the Underdog Pick'em board, I kind of think this is going to be a shootout. And for that reason, I might be looking into, spoiler alert, maybe targeting some receivers in that game since I think it'll be pass heavy. But Charles Cross, Seahawks offensive lineman, looks like he's out. So maybe that'll change my mind. The other one is probably the most obvious, like everyone's going to be watching this game of the
square
week.
Play of the week.
The square play of the week, which is Chiefs Jags, and I think we're going to see a lot of people not only just take player pick'em overs in this game just because it's Patrick Mahomes versus Trevor Lawrence, but I think some of them are going to pay out as well because these are 2 defenses that didn't necessarily blow me away in week 1, and these are 2 quarterbacks, which I mean, I don't think it should be debatable that Patrick Mahomes especially when he has Travis Kelce with him, is the best quarterback we have. And Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley are now developing that connection that is elite. And maybe they kind of disappointed me in week 1 against the Colts, but I think, again, they connect in this matchup as well. And don't sleep on Christian Kirk, Evan Engram. Evan Engram had a really nice week 1, by the way. Evan Engram and Zay Jones as well. So that's a good receiving core. So I'm looking forward to that game and figuring out where the value lies.
I think this is going to be a great game. We're going to talk about, for those of you who are unaware, Underdog also has now live pick'ems. So during the games, you can go check out their live lines. And this is a great opportunity, if you're watching the game live, to take advantage of some situations. If you see offenses are going, the defenses aren't stopping them, you can jump in and you can make your DFS plays live right there, right as the games are going. So make sure you're checking that out live during the games. It's under the Pick'em tab, and that's a cool new feature they've added for this year.
That's a great call out. And if you're in the Player Profiler Discord, or if you're not in the Player Profiler Discord, you should get in there, because we talk in our top bets channel, we talk about betting, but for Pick'ems, we talk about Pick'ems in our Pick'ems channel, people sharing their entries, people feeding off each other's energy for these Pick'ems. So join us in the Discord, and maybe you'll see one of us on Sunday in the Discord dropping a live Pick'em. So it's a great call out. Finally, for today's programming, we've got some news out of Underdog Fantasy. And if you're in the Underdog Fantasy Discord, you got news of this a little early as well. Underdog Fantasy each week this year is giving out a $100,000+ pot that'll be up for grabs for those who submit a Pick'em entry with a designated player each week. And they're beginning this week with $10,000 to 10 different winners, which is just crazy. And this is why we have this show, to figure out how to take advantage of these promos. So how does it work? You get 1 ticket per week, 1 Pick'em entry. That's your ticket. The entry you submit does not need to win to be eligible for the $100,000. So it's absolutely worth it to play these. And it looks like a lot of us, they're mostly limited. For example, I'm limited to $20. I'm not sure if that's universal or not, but I'm limited to $20, and that's how much we're going to play on this. But we're here to find the winner, right? It doesn't have to win for you to be eligible for the promo, but we're going to win for you anyway. And the week 2 choice on the board is Tua Tagovailoa total yards. So that's the pick of the week, and we are going to find something else on the board to pair Tua with. But first off, Trevor, we're both on the same side for this one. Which way are we on Tua?
So this, for us, in case anybody was unaware and just didn't watch the NFL week 1, Tua can throw a deep ball, contrary to popular belief. Tyreek Hill is uncoverable. They have arguably the best wide receiving core in the league. This is a matchup that I just love here. And they came out early in the season and said, Mike McDaniel said, we're going to throw the ball deep. We're going to go after this. They get New England this week. It's a divisional matchup. This is super important for them. And while Ahaan is a Patriots fan, they don't have anybody that can cover Tyreek and Jalen. That's just the reality. Is Bill going to try to scheme something and come up with something? Sure. But the fact of the matter is, some of it is just let Tyreek run as fast as he can and just have Tua throw the ball at him. We saw what they're able to do there. Miami's going to continue to press the ball at them. Their running game is there to support their passing game at this point. They don't have any backs that are going to dominate the field right now. So I love Tua over 277.5 passing yards.
So it's actually 277.5 total yards, although he's not going to be running a lot this year, but it is worth noting it's total yards. And if you look at the total yards, which is going to be passing plus rushing, technically, by definition, it's passing plus rushing plus receiving, but not exactly sure we're going to get any.
Hey, maybe they go Philly this game. You never know.
I don't want to talk about that, but
I couldn't resist. Sorry.
We're just gonna speed past that. So the line is 277.5 total yards, and that is a line that Tua cleared in 9 of his 12 games last year, where he got at least 70% of the snaps. Right, we're just taking out that one game where he got hurt very, very early. of those 12 games where he played at least 3/4, he cleared this line 9 out of 12 times. And that's why this line is so attractive to me, because regardless of game script here, and I'm of the belief that the Patriots defense is actually not terrible, but like Trevor said, guarding receivers one-on-one, one level, guarding Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle in general, just another level, right? And something we saw from Tua Tagovailoa in week 1, like you said, he can throw deep, but also something that I saw from him in week 1, which I don't think I've ever seen from Tua, is throwing across all. If you look at his passing chart, throwing across all parts of the field, just something he wasn't doing consistently last year, despite his successful season, was throwing to the outside, left and right. And he was doing that, just dicing up the Chargers secondary. Now, I know the Patriots secondary is better, and I actually love Christian Gonzalez, the first-round pick, but like you said, there's only so much Bill can do to stop Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And if Bill is successful in forcing Tua into some mistakes and the Patriots actually come out with the lead, which this game is close to pick him on the books, I could see that happening. That's only more reason for the Dolphins to keep their foot on the pedal, or whatever the goddamn phrase is. But that's only more reason for Miami to keep throwing the damn football, because they know now that Tua can throw, and to keep pace in this game, they're going to need to throw the football, use their best weapons. So that's why I like Tua regardless of the game script, and I'm also on the higher 277 total yards.
I like it.
Yeah, and so if you are already signed up with the DFS Dominator on Underdog, and you already are looking, while you're on stream, you're going and checking out the Underdog pick generator, you can see a list of 10 picks that we're kind of leaning right now. And over the course of the week, as more projections appear, we're going to find more ahead of the Friday show to find out, to put in for our entries on Friday. But we found one that we both like that is extremely mispriced, and that is what we're going to pair with the Tua piece, just because I personally believe this line could move more than 5 yards by the time it's Friday. We're pairing it right now with Tua. Trevor, which receiver are we backing this week?
So this is an interesting matchup because the team we're going against has arguably the best corner. He can be argued as the best cornerback in the league. They're, new coach, new system, and, they're going to be playing up in Mile High. And I'm talking about Patrick Surtain. He is a monster. I think they run our pick the opposite side of him as much as they can. So I think that's the goal, is to have him on the opposite side. Bieniemy is very well aware of Mr. Surtain after last season. He knows how to scheme against them. Go watch how the Chiefs played against them last year, and that'll give you an idea how they're going to scheme people open. So our pick here is Mr. Dotson of the Washington Redskins. I think Denver's going to have to throw the ball, Washington's going to have to throw the ball a lot in this game, and can't help but cause a habit. But I think the Commanders are going to have to throw a lot. I think this is actually going to be a little higher scoring game than people expect. And I think this line, once the books start dropping their lines later today, tomorrow, are going to, I think this is going to come out higher. And as Ahaan said, I think this is going to open at like 50 on the books. And I think we're getting a steal here at 45.5.
I love it. I have been one of the biggest Jahan Dotson fans since, I worked with the Breakout Finder and noticed that the Breakout Finder agrees that this man is good at football. Week 1, he has 7 targets, 5 receptions for 40 yards. And I actually thought part of the reason that game was so close, unnecessarily close, was Ron Rivera being conservative and not letting Sam Howell just get to business, throw the football to your good players early. But like you said, Patrick Surtain, obviously on the other side, that entire defense is pretty good. But if Terry McLaurin is, as we expect him to play, we expect Terry McLaurin to play. And if he does, that's only more reason for the Commanders to continue targeting targeting Jahan Dotson if we think Surtain's going to be shadowing Terry McLaurin. And Dotson, This is a guy who was clearing this regularly last year, despite this quarterback roulette, right? And we're getting, I think, a discount here, and our projections, which are being run by the analytics department with Dario Austin and Billy Muzio, have this over 10 yards higher. I believe they're at 60 receiving yards on Jahan Dotson this week.
Yes.
60. So the line is 45.5. Let that sink in. So we're getting higher than 45.5 receiving yards in a game script where I think the game is going to be close. I think Washington's going to have to pass the ball. I'm absolutely fully on board with it. We're going to lock it in now. The entry, once again, we're recommending half a unit. Stick to these wager recommendations. You don't want to be blowing your entire bankroll on even a few plays. You want to pace yourself for the entire season. Remember that these are, you double your whatever on a 2-pick. You buy in, let's say $20, you're up $40 by the end of it if it hits, right? So you only need to, even if you hit 40% of these entries for the full season long, if you're putting the same amount all season long, you're profiting over the course of the season. That's our goal. So stick to these unit recommendations. We're pairing Tua Tagovailoa higher than 277.5 total yards and Jahan Dotson higher than 45.5 receiving yards. I am maxing it.
Yep. So remember this, and this is going to be in my write-up about this. They took Surtain and had him all over Devontae, rightfully so. The Raiders had Jacoby Myers catch 12 passes for 162 yards before he took a cheap shot. If he doesn't take that cheap shot, I think he even goes higher. They just took advantage of that, and Dotson's going to be in that Jacoby Myers role this week against this offense. So if you guys are looking for some more data points, why do we like that? That's why I also think the line, when it comes out the books, the line's going to open higher. I am personally going to work Dotson in today to another play because, again, I think we're going to get some value once we get more lines coming out from, the big sports books.
Absolutely. And Dotson was a guy that I was considering for our season long for touchdowns because I just think he's such a good red zone threat. But, never be, stuck in with your preseason, ideologies of how a player is going to be used. The value here is on the receiving yards. I absolutely love him to go off in this matchup, like you said. Once again, recapping our 2 entries that are locked in for this episode. For the Tua Tagovailoa 100K special on Underdog, we are maxing out the entry on Tua Tagovailoa higher than 277.5 total yards, and Jahan Dotson higher than 45.5 receiving yards. And for Thursday Night Football, you want to lock this in ASAP. The lines keep moving. It's already been moving. You want to get it in now. Dallas Goedert higher than 46.5 receiving yards, and Alexander Mattison higher than 12.5 rushing attempts. Trevor, you got any closing words before we're back here on Friday finding more winners?
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm up 2-1 versus Ahaan's 1-2 for our season log. Want to make sure, even if I'm only ahead 1 week this season, I want to make sure I say it that I'm ahead 1 week on our picks on the show.
Wait! What did you hit that I didn't? Wait, I'm so confused.
No. I had 3 players. Oh, I was counting just individual players.
Oh, individual. Got it.
Yeah. So we split our actual picks. Right. But player wise, I went 2-1. He went 1-2. So I wanted to tease him about it.
Yeah.
So, he's a Patriots fan. I got to give him a hard time.
Always fair. I've been dealing with it my entire life, as Matt Babbage in the chat knows what I'm talking about. But I think together, we're going to keep this theme of finding collab plays that we both like on Wednesdays. We're going to keep this train going. We'll be back here for Friday. I think, though, before that, we've found 2 winners. We will see you after Thursday Night Football back here, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday for the Underdog Pick 'em Board for Week 2.